A little over 2 years ago, I was sent a very interesting piece of investigative journalism from USA Today entitled Ghost Factories. This award-winning article looked at the societal impact of formerly unknown lead smelters throughout the United States. It also detailed the intentional and ongoing failure on the part of government officials to address this environmental health hazard. Along with this article, I was sent a list of over 400 smelters which had not yet been examined. As I sifted through the piles of source documents, I realized that Utica had its very own ghost factory. And when I pulled out the map and saw that it was located around the corner from the former downtown Washington Courts housing project, I knew that there was more to the story. As I began finding out more about the smelter, I ultimately confirmed that there were still abundant amounts of lead present at the site of our city's very own ghost factory. And in the process, I became intimately aware of the local public health issue of lead exposure. While Utica may not be the largest city in the state of New York, it is a hotbed of childhood lead poisoning, exhibiting the highest rates per capita for the entire state. Utica even outpaces New York City when it comes to instances of lead exposure. While health officials know the statistics locally and have developed effective methods for completely eliminating childhood lead poisoning within the United States, this issue still persists. As I began finding out more about the smelter, I came to learn that the Oneida County Health Department maintained maps that detail the distribution of lead poisoning throughout the city of Utica. I knew that I had to get my hands on these maps if I wanted to truly understand the reality of the situation. And when I finally did, I was very surprised. I, along with many of my friends and loved ones, reside within what I have begun referring to as the red zone, or areas with the highest instances. It is here that one can see which neighborhoods are most deeply touched by this issue, namely Cornhill and West Utica. These neighborhoods are often cast in a negative light, but approximately 40% of Utica citizens call these areas home. And these residents are feeling the most profound impact of this major public health issue that spells catastrophe for nearly 100 children and their families each year in Utica. Utica is one of the most impoverished areas of New York State. Poverty indicates increased instances of renting as opposed to homeownership, decreased access to quality health care, and diets that are lacking in nutritional value. These three factors alone increase a child's chance of becoming poisoned by lead. However, the number one factor shared by children who are exposed to lead is race. Poor Black and brown children are 3 times as likely to be diagnosed with elevated blood lead levels as their poor white counterparts. A child who is poisoned by lead will suffer in the aftermath for the rest of their life. Lead attacks the central nervous system, stunting cognitive development. A child who has been exposed to toxic levels of lead is at risk for a host of health issues, including lowered IQs, delayed speech development, impaired fine motor skills, ADHD, behavioral issues, decreased organ function, seizures, and even death. While it is possible to lower a child's blood lead level, it is impossible to repair the damage that has already been done. A child who has been exposed to toxic levels of lead will most likely need special care throughout the rest of their lifetime, and they may find it difficult to maintain the type of employment necessary for financial independence. Studies have proven that primary lead prevention programs, although costly up front, actually cost less than the lifetime of care and social services provided to a child who has been lead poisoned. Utica is a city on the cusp of revitalization. Economic and social growth abound as we make way for the newest industry of nanotechnology to grace the historically profitable Mohawk Valley. Recently, the Department of Housing and Urban Development chose Utica as one of 3 cities in the state for a community needs assessment initiative. From this assessment, an anti-poverty strategy and 2-year action plan were born. Its goals are targeted, nuanced, and necessary. If Utica wants to successfully experience a rebirth and advance into the 21st century, it is vital that a holistic approach is taken that carries each and every one of our citizens along with us. Utica is a unique city with unique residents, and therefore, unique solutions are needed to completely eliminate instances of childhood lead poisoning. Tonight, I would like to share some of these unique solutions with you all. In Worcester, Massachusetts, a similar situation exists. There, a group of high school students have come together to form the Toxic Soil Busters. This youth-led worker cooperative takes teens from the areas with the highest instances of lead poisoning and exposes them to the science behind the issue, in turn allowing them to create purposeful change within their very own community. These teens offer soil testing, lead-safe landscaping, and public health education outreach. In return, they gain the types of job readiness skills and exposure to laboratory sciences that put them light years beyond most of their peers. But most importantly, these teens gain positive youth empowerment as they enact environmental justice within their very own communities, all while getting paid. The work undertaken by the teenagers of Worcester has been so effective that they have received numerous federal grants to continue pushing forward. Imagine what Utica could do with its very own crew of Toxic Soil Busters. A youth-led worker cooperative that sought to tackle the issue of childhood lead poisoning would provide enhanced educational opportunities and facilitate employment, helping to ensure that Utica can meet its anti-poverty goals and secure its bright future. Research has shown that effective and meaningful sharing of vital information within multicultural communities must incorporate the voices of those that they are trying to reach. Many of the over 40 languages spoken throughout Utica do not even have words for lead or lead poisoning. It is important that we construct a language and dialogue that has resonance and taps into a parent's innate desire to safeguard their child's health and ultimately their child's future. Cultural references must be prominent parts of public health education outreach materials for them to be effective. Translating this information from English to other languages is simply not enough. Many refugees do not read or write in their native tongue. Visual messages are more successful at reaching these communities. Even more effective is verbal communications from a trusted peer. Prominent members of the refugee community should be identified by health officials so that they can be brought into the discourse and carry these important messages back to their community in a collective effort to eliminate childhood lead poisoning. Working to bridge the gaps and provide more thoughtful and inclusive healthcare will allow for us to improve the health and wellness for all of our residents. The word phytoremediation is derived from the ancient Greek words for plant and restoring balance. This innovative process utilizes plants that have the natural ability to uptake heavy metals from soils to restore their health. This method is restorative, but sunflowers are also easy to cultivate. Sunflowers have been proven extremely effective at ridding soils of toxic traces of lead. These plants are not only restorative, but they are also relatively easy to cultivate and do not come with a very high price tag. With little to no effort, any Utica citizen could plant sunflowers right in their very own front or backyard and take full advantage of their phytoremediation properties. Imagine if the empty lots that dot our city could be filled with sunflowers and used as dynamic community spaces that improve the health of our environment and diminish the presence of urban blight. This method is effective, cost-friendly, and beautiful all at the same time. Incorporating the methods of phytoremediation into the revitalization of Utica will allow for us to improve the health of our environment and enhance public safety for all of our residents. In Philadelphia, a specialized court system has been created to deal with issues of lead poisoning where it is clear that unsafe housing is the cause. Prior to the creation of the Philadelphia Lead Court, if a child was found to have an elevated blood lead level that was related to unsafe housing conditions, an order for remediation would be issued by a judge to the property owner, most likely a landlord. If they were unable or unwilling to comply, it would become the responsibility of the health department to take care of the job without any extra funding. Looking for better solutions and better outcomes, a variety of city officials got together and decided to make these court orders more enforceable through the use of fines and more oversight. This is a similar method to what is already used in the specialized drug court in the city of Utica. However, they found that the most important factor in bringing about change was increased awareness. The Philadelphia Lead Court made it their mission to educate not only court officials, but also property owners on the severity of lead poisoning to individuals as well as to society at large. They made it a multi-stakeholder issue in which everyone had a responsibility to the health and welfare of their city's children and ultimately of their city's future. The methods employed by the Philadelphia Lead Court were so effective that they were able to remediate 70% of the lead-contaminated housing within the first year that they were in operation. Incorporating the methods of the Philadelphia Lead Court into the revitalization of Utica, as underlined in the 2-year action plan, will allow for us to increase economic activity, but more specifically and more importantly, we will be able to provide enhanced housing opportunities for all of our residents that are free of lead hazards. These innovative solutions have the potential to completely eliminate lead poisoning within the city of Utica and help us reach our anti-poverty and renewal goals. The issue of childhood lead poisoning is intricately interconnected with the issues of employment, education, economics, public safety, health, and housing. These are the very same issues that Utica must confront and overcome on its path to revitalization. When a child is lead poisoned, their future is robbed from them. They are ill-equipped to succeed in the classroom, making them less likely to finish school and find the kind of job that leads to economic advancement for themselves as well as their community. If Utica wants to successfully reach the goals put forth by the Community Needs Assessment Initiative in a meaningful and long-lasting way, then we must eliminate childhood lead poisoning once and for all. Working together, pooling community resources and knowledge, we can confront this serious public health issue in Utica one square block at a time and take our city to heights that it has never seen before. Thank you.